Hi. Today, we're going to start a brand new unit. Okay, unit 3. What a story. When do you use this expression? 이런 그 표현 언제 하시나요? What a story. 야, 정말 굉장한 스토리구나. 라는 그런 표현이 되겠는데요. Well, when you read a very interesting and surprising story, you can say like, what a story, right? Do you like reading a lot? 여러분 읽는 거 좋아하시나요? 대부분 여러 가지 그 흥미로운 그런 주제에 대한 읽을 거리들이 well in the newspaper, in the magazine, you know, or on the internet. 이런 것들을 통해서 우리가 읽을 거리들을 많이 접할 수 있는데요. 요즘에는 어떤 거 읽으세요? Maybe you might be reading about avian influenza or inflation. Oh, those stories are not interesting, or politics. But today, in our textbook, there are very interesting stories. 자, 그러면 어떤 interesting stories가 있는지 한번 보도록 하겠습니다. Okay, what you have to do now is open your book, page 22. Page 22를 펴시면 첫 번째 headline이 나오네요. Man survives plunge over Niagara Falls. Oh, that's amazing! In this case, you can say, what a story, right? Can you imagine someone just, jumped off the Niagara Falls? And what can you imagine? 어떤 상상이 되세요? Maybe he died? Yeah, naturally. But, it's a very shocking story because he survived. Anyway, 자, when you read this kind of headline, what kind of question, what are some questions that you have in mind? 어떤 질문들이 마음속에 떠오르십니까? Maybe, how old is he? 몇 살이었어요, 그 남자는? Or what else? How high was the fall? 그 fall은 크기가, 그 길이가, 높이가 얼마 정도 됐었나요? Right? Okay, you can ask that. Or, why did he do that? 왜 그랬대? Right? So you can ask some questions like these. All right. And why don't we go to the second headline? Climber saved by text plea to friend. Well, normally, if you go mountain climbing, it's kind of an area where, you cannot find any civilization there, right? 문명의 이기가 닿지 않는 그런 아주 desolate mountain area에서는요. 그 핸폰을 이용한다는 것을 상상할 수 없을 거예요. 그죠? But this person was saved by sending a text message to a friend. Wow, what a story, right? Okay, so what kind of questions would you ask by reading this passage? What kind of answers would you get? Well, first, you might ask, where did that happen? 어디서 이런 일이 일어났죠? Or you can ask like, when did that happen? Right? Where and when? So you have this like, lots of reporters questions in mind, right? And the third headline is this: the nerd who hacked into U.S. military computers. You know what nerd is, right? Nerd, N-E-R-D. Well, obviously, it's not a compliment. 칭찬의 말이 아니죠, nerd는요. 왜 안경 두꺼운 안경 쓰고요. 책 이렇게 두꺼운 거 들고 약간 약골에 분리들의 타겟이 되는 그 nerd. 이 nerd가요. 맨날 그 컴퓨터만 하고 공부만 하고 책만 읽다가 사고를 쳤습니다. The nerd who hacked into U.S. military computers. Why? 이런 질문들이 떠오르지 않으세요? So, why did he do that? 왜 그랬대? And then I might ask like, how old was he? 그 사람 몇 살이냐? 뭐 이런 질문들 할 수가 있겠죠? Okay, so by reading these headlines, we might have these questions in mind. And then why don't we listen to this news one by one? 하나하나씩 들어보면서 우리 의문을 한번 파악을 해보도록 하겠습니다. Okay, so if we go to number 4, number 4로 가시면요. Just ordinary clothes. Okay, this is one of the answers for the questions that you might have in mind. So 여러분이 가지고 있을 수 있는 질문에 대한 답이 just ordinary clothes. And for a dare might be one of the answers. Well, what kind of question was asked in this case? 이 경우에는 어떤 질문을 했을까요? 1번하고 2번에 해당된 news 한번 들어볼게요.
Did you read that story about the guy who jumped off Niagara Falls?
No. What happened to him? Did he die?
No. He survived, amazingly enough.
Really? I guess he was wearing some kind of protective clothing.
That's the incredible thing. He was just wearing ordinary clothes. He just jumped in, fell down 180 feet, and somehow managed to avoid hitting the rocks.
That's amazing. What did he do it for?
Apparently, he just did it for a dare. He'd been talking about doing it for years. His friends had bet him he wouldn't do it.
What a crazy guy.
Surely he's a crazy guy. I agree. You know, guys do that kind of things for a dare. You know what for a dare mean? For a dare means for a challenge, right? So, can you jump off from mountain Alps? 네, 알프스 산에서 뛰어내릴 수 있니? 뭐 something like that. Some crazy things. 너 자전거 타고 헬리콥터에서 뛰어내릴 수 있어? Certain things. You know? Oh, I think it's crazy, but he did it, right? Why don't we go to number 1? Just ordinary clothes. What kind of questions would be asked in order to get this kind of answer? Well, according to the news that we've just heard, the conversation based on the news that we've just heard, well, he just jumped off with a protective clothing? No, he was just wearing with an ordinary clothing on, right? So he was just wearing an ordinary clothes. So the question might be, what was he wearing, right? What was he wearing? Well, he was just wearing ordinary clothing, not protective clothing, right? And why don't we go to number 2? For a dare. Why did he do that? Oh, guys are so strange. We don't understand. Women don't understand guys because they are sometimes very crazy for, they risk their lives for nothing. 아무것도 아닌 거 가지고 이렇게 목숨을 걸 때가 있다니까요. So he just did it. He just did it for a dare. That's crazy. He could have lost his life, right? 목숨을 잃을 수도 있었는데 말이죠. Okay, and now it's time for us to go to number 3 and 4. 3 hours and in a shelter. Okay, so in order to get these answers, what kind of questions would be asked? Okay, let's listen to this conversation together.
There was a story the other day about this mountain climber. She was stuck on top of a mountain, and she only managed to escape by sending text messages.
No. Where did this happen?
In the Swiss Alps, I think. She was climbing with a partner, and they'd been climbing for 3 hours when they got trapped in a terrible storm.
You're kidding.
No. So they built a shelter or something, and they hid in that.
Then what happened?
She started sending text messages to friends in London, and one of them sent a message back saying that the mountain rescue teams in Switzerland had been contacted.
Amazing. You could never send messages like that in the U.S.
I know. I guess the service in Europe is just better. Anyway, they were rescued the next night, and now they're safe and sound.
Unbelievable.
Oh, wow. 다행이네요. She's safe and sound. You know, safe and sound, they go together all the time. So, she's safe and sound. Oh, this is a good expression. By the way, why don't we go to number 3? 3 hours. In order to get this answer, 이런 answer를 얻기 위해서는요, 어떤 질문을 했을까요? Okay, the question might be this. How long 이라고 물어봐야지 3 hours가 나오겠죠? So, how long had she been climbing when she got trapped? Okay, so this is the question, and the answer might be 3 hours. 네, 3 hours라는 answer를 여기서 얻을 수가 있을 것 같은데요. So what you have to bear in mind is how long and 기간이니까 for 3 hours. Okay, and you might have this question in mind. Oh, why do you use had she been climbing here? Well, this is a past perfect tense. right? To be exact, past perfect continuous. 그 과거 완료 진행이잖아요. 그죠? 과거 완료는요, I told you before, when it comes to perfect tenses, there should be some kind of 기준이 있어야 된다고 했죠. 여기서 기준은요, when she got trapped. When she got trapped, this is what happened in the past. Past. And before this past, 이 그 past에 기준된 그런 시점 전에 뭘 하고 있었냐면 she was climbing the mountains. Okay, up until this point when she got trapped. So that is why the had been ing as used in here. Okay, so you have to bear in mind that. Okay, and why don't we go to the next one, number 4, in a shelter. Okay, in a shelter. What is a shelter? Shelter is a place where you can hide, right? Shelter. 은닉처. 숨어 있을 수 있는 곳. So you can ask like, where did she hide? Where did she hide? Okay, you can ask questions like this to get this answer. Okay? And nice time to go to 5 and 6. Bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum. The third newspaper article and the nerd who hacked into U.S. military computers. The answer you get, number 5, is his own software program. What about his own software program? Okay, what kind of question would be asked in this case? And number 6, to download from the internet. Oh, I know what kind of question was asked in this case. Why did he hack into the military, U.S. military computers, right? This is my guess. We have to listen to it and check.
I was reading in the paper the other day about this kid who hacked into these top secret U.S. military computers. Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. How old was he? 17, 18?
Actually, he was only 14.
Why did he do it?
Well, he developed his own software program, and he'd been using this to download movies and music from the internet.
I don't get it. What's that got to do with the U.S. military?
Well, he'd figured that if he broke into these powerful military computers, he could use them to download stuff even faster.
Oh, so he wasn't a spy or anything?
No, but he still got in trouble. The military got in touch with the FBI, and this boy was tracked down to his house somewhere in Kansas or something.
And he's only 14? They should give him a job.
He must be a genius. 진짜 genius인 것 같아요. But I think he should use his talent in something else. 뭔가 좀 좋은데 이 탤런트를 사용을 해야 되겠죠. He's only 14, right? But he's in trouble still because he hacked into this top secret U.S. military computers. Okay. Anyway, why don't we go to number 5? His own software program. So, in order to get this answer, 이 대답을 얻기 위해서 어떤 질문을 했었어야 될까요? 네, 그렇죠. The question is, what had he developed? What had he developed? 어떤 것을 그가 개발했습니까? He had developed his own computer software program. Wow, he must be a genius, right? He must be good at those computer language program languages, right? I envy him. How about you? Okay. And what is the answer for number 6? To download from the internet. To download from the internet이란 답을 얻기 위해서 what kind of question should you ask? Well, why did he hack into the U.S. military computers? Why did he hack into or break into? Okay, these expressions can be used interchangeably. So, why did he hack into? Why did he break into? Why did he hack into the U.S. military computers? Right? Top secret U.S. military computers. 이유가 뭐예요? The reason is to download from the internet. Right? Ding dong, ding dong. Okay, we see lots of geniuses, especially those little kids, they can do, lots of things that adults cannot do. when it comes to this computers and, computer games, some kind of, top-notch technology devices, well, they're really good at that. For adults, we have to think about it and we have to get used to it, practice really a lot. But it's like, they are really, really quick to understand about, the ways to use those devices. But, they should be educated as to how to use their talents. Okay? They have to use it in a proper way. Okay. 자, 이제는요. Now it's time for us to look at some of the points, focus of the day. Okay? That is head plus PP. That is past perfect tense, right? past perfect tense가 어느 경우에 쓰여지는지를 여러분과 하나하나 살펴보도록 할게요. If you look at the first sentence, he'd been talking about doing it for years. Okay, in general, 일반적으로 past perfect tense가 쓰일 때는 중요한 것은 기준이 있다 그랬죠. 기준, right? So, 기준이 과거일 때는 과거 완료, past perfect. 그리고 기준이 현재를 기준으로 총정리를 해줄 때는 현재 완료예요. 그럼 미래의 어떤 시점을 기준으로 총정리를 해줄 때는 뭘까요? 미래 완료가 되겠죠. Right? 오늘은요, 그 past perfect tense or past perfect continuous를 같이 보는 그런 시기니까요. 여기서 여러분과 함께 어떤 경우에 과거의 기준을 찾아내는 겁니다. 어떤 경우에 이 past perfect tense가 쓰였고 그렇다면 과거의 기준은 어디인가를 we have to find it out. Okay? So, why don't we read the first sentence? He'd been talking about doing it for years. Okay, this is about this crazy man who jumped off Niagara Falls, right? Niagara Falls에서 뛰어내린 그 crazy man에 대한 건데요. 여기서 기준되는 시점이 언제일까요? He'd been talking about doing it for years? 기준되는 시점은요. Here, past. 기준. He jumped off Niagara Falls. Let me put it like NF. So, he jumped off. This is past tense, right? 여기를 기준으로 했을 때, well, he'd been talking about doing it for years. So, well, I think I can do it. I can do it. I can jump off the Niagara Falls and I will not die. 나 죽지 않을 거야. Niagara Falls에서 뛰어내려도 나 죽지 않을 걸. 이런 식으로 계속 얘기를 했던 거죠. So, before this past, 그 specific time in the past, 이 구체적인 과거의 시간 전에 he'd been talking about doing it for years. Of course, here he'd is had, right? had가 줄여진 거죠. Okay, and why don't we go to number 2? Okay, 두 번째. His friends had bet him he wouldn't do it. 친구들이 문제가 있어요. I think those friends are very problematic, right? 아무리 막 허풍을 떨어줘요. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. I think you wouldn't do it. 이런 식으로 자꾸 약 올리면 안 되죠. 그죠? 그래서 결국은 뛰어내리게 됐잖아요. Well, so he jumped off Niagara Falls. 이 일이 있기 전에 what happened? Well, his friends had bet him. His friends had bet him. He wouldn't do it. 너 못할 걸. What does bet mean? Originally bet means 내기하다, right? I bet $5 on it. I bet $100 on it. So, bet means when you're really, really sure about something, you bet, right? So, 확실히 뭔가가 일어날 때, 확실해라고 얘기할 때 bet, 내기하다. So, his friends had bet him. 뭐라고 확신했냐면 너무 못할 거야. So, 너무 약 올랐어요. 그래가지고 진짜로 he really jumped off Niagara Falls. Oh, it's a good thing that he did not lose his life. 생명을 잃지 않은 게 정말 다행인 거죠. And we go to the next sentence, okay? They'd been climbing for 3 hours when they got trapped. Here, okay, in this sentence, 기준되는 시점이 어딜까요? 바로 when they got trapped in a terrible, terrible snowstorm, right? So, when they got trapped, okay, this is 기준 시점, right? And before this specific time in the past, before this, they've been climbing for 3 hours before this happened, right? Okay, so do you now understand? 이제 이해를 하시죠? There should be a specific past 그 incident가 있어야 돼요. 그리고 그 incident를 기준으로 그 전에라고 얘기를 해야 되겠죠? Okay, and why don't we go to the next one? one of them sent a message back saying that the mountain rescue team in Switzerland had been contacted. Okay, wow, this is a good thing. So they were kind of lost and they didn't know what to do. They hid themselves in this shelter and they just, waiting for some kind of responses from someone they know, right? She sent this text messages to her friends in London, and one of the friends sent a message back saying, okay, what did the message say? The mountain rescue team in Switzerland have been contacted. 자, 여기서 기준되는 시점은 어디죠? Sent a message. 메시지를 보냈다. 메시지를 보낸 것보다 전에 what happened? 어떤 일이 일어났어요? 메시지를 보내기 전에 Here, the mountain rescue team in Switzerland. Where are they now? 지금 어디 있다고 그랬죠? They are in the 그렇죠. 스위스의 알프스 산에 있다고 그랬어요. 그죠? Okay, so rescue team in Switzerland. 그 스위스에 있는 rescue team이 had been because it is before one of them sent a message, right? So it is before one of them sent a message back. The Switzerland rescue team had been contacted. 그 전에 contact가 되어진 거죠. Okay? And why don't we go to the last one? He had developed his own software program. Here, had plus PP, which is past perfect tenses use. 그럼 기준을 찾아야 되겠죠? 기준 찾아보세요. He had developed his own software program and 여기도 또 쓰였군요. Had been using this to download movies and music from the internet. 인터넷에서 이것을 movies and music을 다운로드 받는데 사용을 해오고 있었어요. Okay, but I cannot find any 기준 시점 in this sentence, right? 기준이 되는 시점이 여기 없잖아요. 어떻게 하죠, 그런 경우에는? Well, 그러면요, you have to find it in the context. 컨텍스트에서 여러분이 발견을 하셔야 됩니다. 여기서는요, 지금 기준이 되어지는 가장 중요한 사건은 뭐죠? He hacked into the US military computers, right? He broke into the US military computers. 이게 바로 그 가장 중요한 사건 in the past가 되겠죠. 그 전에, okay? Before that happened, so here, 과거 시점이 뭐냐? 과거 시점은 이게 되겠죠. He broke into the US military computers. 여기에 broke into 했었던 것이 과거 시점이고, and then before this thing happened in the past, actually what he had been doing, well, he had developed his own software programs and he'd been using this. This means the software program to download movies and music from the internet. 그죠? 근데 why did he do that? 에 대한 answer 이게 충분하지 않잖아요. It's not a good enough answer. So this question was asked again. Well, what has that got to do with that? What is that got to do with that? Has to do with는 뭐뭐와 상관이 있다. 아니 그 다운로드를 받았는데 프로그램을 개발해서 what's that got to do with that? 그 해킹하는 거랑 무슨 상관이죠? 무슨 상관이냐면요. US military computer를 이용해서 인터넷을 이용해서 다운을 받으면 it's much faster. 훨씬 더 빠르다는 겁니다. Okay, 아이다운 발상이죠. He was not a spy or anything like that. spy나 이런 것들은 아니었나 봐요. Okay, 자 좋습니다. 그래서 아주 중요한 거 기준. 과거가 기준이 될 때는 과거 완료가 쓰인다는 거. 그리고 과거 완료가 쓸 땐 반드시 그 문장이 아니면 문맥상으로라도 과거 시점이 나온다라는 거를 여러분이 기억하셔야 되는 겁니다. Okay? Alright. 자, 그러면 내용에 근거를 해서 Why don't we solve number 5 together? number 5를 가게 되면요. A 부분에요. A part of a sentence가 있어요. He was wearing 그리고 the rest 그 나머지는 B 부분에 있어요. 그죠? 그래서 A 블락이랑 B 블락에 있는 sentence를 you have to match them in order to make a complete sentence. This is what you have to do. Okay, let's do it together. He was wearing. wearing이니까 뭐 입는 거가 되겠죠? He was wearing what? Ordinary clothes, right? So he was not wearing some protective clothing. 그리고 뛰어내린 것이 아니라 that's amazing. He survived. 살아남았다는 게 진짜 정말 놀랍군요. He was wearing ordinary clothes. 그냥 보통 옷을 입고 있었습니다. And then number 2, he'd been talking. He'd been talking what? He'd been talking 여기 있네요. 그죠? He'd been talking about doing it for years. Okay, before what happened? Actually, before he jumped off the Niagara Falls, he had been talking about it for years. So you have to match it to about doing it for years. 라고 매치를 시키면 되겠죠? 자, and then now it's time for us to go to the third one. His friends had bad. 자신 있게. His friends had bad him. 그에게 확실히 얘기했어요. He wouldn't do it. 너 못할걸? 네가 어떻게 Niagara Falls에서 뛰어내리겠어? 이런 식으로 얘기를 했다는 거죠. Okay, his friends had bad him. He wouldn't do it. 너 안 할 걸 아마. Okay, and the fourth is she was climbing. She was climbing all by herself. Is it right? No, she was climbing with a partner. 파트너와 같이 산을 오르고 있었죠. 그러다가 what happened? Well, they met a terrible storm. terrible storm을 만나서 거기서 그 조난을 당하게 되죠. 이런 그런 내용들이 좀 나왔고요. And the last one, 네, 마지막입니다. The last one is they were rescued. rescued 하면은 구출되다. Oh, rescue me. 저를 구해 주세요. 네, 응급출동 911. Rescue 911이라고 얘기하잖아요. Right? So, they were rescued when? The next day. The next day. Okay. 그 다음 날 they were rescued. Okay, so we solved number 5 together. Wow, those are so interesting stories. 굉장히 재미있는 이야기들이네요. 그죠? Okay, 우리 재미있는 이야기를 보고 아니면 어떤 뉴스를 듣고 you can have a conversation with your friends or somebody who you can talk to. 이렇게 얘기할 수 있는 분들이랑 아니면 친구들이랑 이렇게 얘기를 나누게 되는데요. 그 뉴스를 듣고 아니면 뉴스를 보고 인풋을 받아서 거기서 있는 내용을 가지고 얘기를 하는 것은 여러분의 vocabulary를 증진하는 데 아주 좋은 방법입니다. 그래서 디스커션 아주 자주 해주시기를 바라고요. Okay, why don't we go to page 23. page 23에 discussing grammar 같이 보도록 하겠습니다. 이게 시제가요. It's kind of confusing, right? So sometimes this is used and sometimes this is not right. Sometimes it's wrong, right? I don't know, right? It's very, very confusing. 자, 그럴 때 우리 뭔가 정립해 놓는 게 굉장히 중요할 것 같습니다. Why don't we go to discussing grammar on page 23? If you go to number 1, I read a book on the plane and I was reading a book on the plane. The first sentence is I read a book on the plane means the action has been complete. Okay? So you finished the book on the plane. 비행기를 타고선 책을 다 읽었다는 얘기고요. 두 번째는요. I was reading a book on the plane. So this activity of reading a book continued while he or she was on the plane. But the thing is, you never know whether it has been finished or not. 이게 끝난지 안 끝난지 좀 몰라요. 그래서 하나는 책을 다 읽었다. 또 두 번째는 책을 읽고 있었다. Okay? Why don't we go to number 2? When Alice arrived, I made a cake. Okay, the first sentence means Alice arrived, and then as soon as Alice arrived, he or she started to make cake. 케이크를 만들기 시작했어요. 그죠? 자, 그래서 앨리스가 도착해서 케이크를 만들기 시작했다라고 할 때는 첫 번째 문장이고요. When Alice arrived, I was making a cake. 앨리스가 도착했을 때 I was in the middle of making the cake. 이제 케이크를 만드는 중간이었어요. Right? In the process of making the cake. So, 케이크를 만드는 과정 중에 있었습니다. 라는 그런 표현이죠. The cake, of course, has not been finished. 아직 끝내지는 않고 만들어지는 과정 중이었다는 얘기죠. When Alice arrived, I had made a cake. 앨리스가 도착했을 때, 그때를 기준으로 했을 때 이미 만들어 놨다. 이라고 할 때 had plus pp가 이렇게 쓰여지네요. Okay? And we go to number 3. The movie started when we got to the theater. The movie had started when we got to the theater. Well, the first sentence means as soon as they got to the theater, the movie started. So they did not miss any part of the movie because as soon as they entered the movie theater, the movie started. So they could see from the very beginning of the movie. Oh, it's a good thing for them. But when it comes to the movie had started when we got to the theater, that means they missed the first part of the movie, right? 이미 시작돼서 진행되고 있었으니까요. 그죠? 자, 그러니까 영화를 처음 부분을 놓친 것이 되겠죠. 두 번째 같은 경우는요. We go to number 4. He was fired because he had stolen some money. Okay? This is just an incident happened once in the past. 과거에 일어났었던 한 번의 사건이에요. He had stolen the money. Okay? So, he was fired because 이 기준이 되는 시점, fired 된 시점 전에 한 번 훔쳤어요, 돈을. He had stolen some money. Okay? But when it comes to the second sentence, he was fired because he had been stealing money for years. So, it was not just an incident that happened once, but it was a repeated incident, right? So he repeatedly stole money from, other people. 다른 사람들한테 반복적으로 돈을 훔쳐오고 있었던 거죠. 자, 그러니까 반복적인 겁니다. 누가 더 나빠요? 두 번째 he가 더 나쁘네요. 나쁜 사람. Okay, we go to the number 5. When I got to the garbage, my car was being repaired. So, when you got to the garbage는 그 차 수리하는 데죠. 거기 갔을 때, my car was being repaired. So, it was not finished. 끝내진 것이 아니라 계속 수리가 되어지고 있었다. 라는 그런 표현이고요. When we got to the garage, 이 과거 시점을 기준으로 했을 때, 그때 my car had been repaired. 다 고쳐졌어요. Okay? So repair has been finished. 끝내졌었어요. 그죠? Repair was finished. 라고 해야 되겠네요. Okay, so discussing grammar를 통해서 약간의 그 tense에 대한 뉘앙스의 차이를 여러분과 함께 봤습니다. Okay, 오늘은 이렇게 해서 tense에 대한 거 하고 그 다음에 그 뉴스 헤드라인을 보고 이야기도 같이 나눠봤는데요. What a story! 여러분 주변에 정말 재미있는 이야기들, 재미있는 사건들 많이 접할 수 있나요? 우리 사회에요. In our society, I hope there are lots of interesting and exciting stories. And not bad or terrible or gloomy stories. 이런 gloomy stories나 bad stories 이런 거는 없어졌으면 좋겠고요. Interesting stories만 가득했으면 좋겠습니다. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up here today and have a nice day and I will see you next time. Bye.